Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another live stream with Sam. And my channel
Everybody, and welcome back.
is Retire Inspired. Hold on just a second. All right. Hope everyone is doing okay today. I'm having a great day. Today is Sunday, and it is time for another live stream. Today, I'm going to be looking at my eBay store. Today was a very hot day. We've been seeing some very high extreme weather recently. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let me check something out here real quick. I hope you all had a good day today and that you got a chance to go to church. I got to go to church this morning and had a really good worship. All right, we'll start like we always do and talk about my store's performance. Hello, Paul. Good to see you. Glad you were able to make it today. How are you doing, Paul? Everything going well with you? I hope so. Things have been going pretty good for me. I've been working on that rental house that I had to do the eviction on. And we are almost ready to get it rented out. I have a guy that wants to rent it. And so I'll be doing one more update on that house before I get it rented out. And Paul, you went to church too. Great. I'm glad you got to go to church. It's really good to have that relationship with other Christians and be able to share the Word of God and worship. So this is my performance for the last 30 days of my store. It has been a pretty good 30 days, if I do say so myself. My store has made sales of $6,030 with taxes and fees of $370.29, and the selling cost was $1,737.17, which was 28% of my total sales. So that leaves me with a net sales in the last 30 days of $3,922.88. And if you ask me, that's not too bad for part-time work, which really I don't consider work because I really enjoy selling on eBay. Paul, you lucked out on the storm. Not much rain. Well, we got a little bit of rain yesterday, but it wasn't too terrible. It did rain, stormed. I guess we needed a little bit of rain though. So in the last 30 days, I have sold 79 items with an average sales price of $76.33. And so what that means is that the average thing that I've sold has sold for $76.33. So my total sales, and I didn't do any auctions this last 30 days. So everything has been at a fixed price. Let's see what has been selling. Looks like the majority of the items that have sold in the last 30 days has been video games and consoles. And if you've been watching my previous live streams, you know that what I do is I buy consoles on eBay for parts or repair. And sometimes I get them at yard sales and stuff like that. And I will see if I can repair them and get them running again. And then what I'll do is I'll bundle them up with a controller. And sometimes I have to order additional controllers if I don't have any on hand. Sometimes I have to order the power cord and the AV cable. And sometimes I have to order games to go with it. So there are additional costs to it, but overall, it's a pretty good turn around on my money. So it's a good return on investment, if I do say so. Looks like I got a new offer. Did y'all see that pop up? I'll have to check that out when my live stream is over. So on jewelry and watches, and I will go over my sales, but one of the big items that I sold this month was I sold a watch for almost $500. It was like $495, and I'll show you that. So jewelry and watches was the second highest item, and then collectibles. And it does break it down to World War II original period items. So this was a knife that I sold for $300. That 300 of the $353 was for a knife that I sold. Toys and hobbies was $184.54. So that's a model railroad train, a model train that sold, and that's one item that sold for that much. And then again, video games and consoles, that would be controllers and attachments. Sporting goods, hiking backpacks. I sell backpacks pretty good. I don't have any problems with the backpacks I sell. And you can pick up backpacks for really cheap at yard sales. I try to get them for less than $5 each, and I usually do pretty good with them. I sell them for $35 to $45. So Paul says he has 35 items listed, no sales this past week. Lots of sellers say sales are off. Well, Paul, I didn't know that you started an eBay store. Well, congratulations. So I'm really happy for you. I hope that you have the most success in your eBay experience. Maybe you can make some good money. So tell us a little bit about some of the items that you've listed. Did you just start around the house, or did you start going to yard sales and picking up items in yard sales? How have you? What did you do to get started? Looking forward to hearing that. So also sold movies and TV. So that's movies, TV, DVDs, Blu-ray discs for $169. Collectibles, military surplus. That was a helmet, a Kevlar helmet that I had that I bought off of someone. I sold it for $141.79. Clothing, shoes, and accessories. Shoes is a big thing that I sell. I really like listing shoes. They're real easy to list for me. You just take pictures from the front, the side, the back, the top, and the bottom, and you're done. So I've gotten pretty good at listing men's shoes and women's shoes for that matter. But the boots are the one thing that military boots are the one thing that really sell well. And so I did $131.73 for boots. Home and garden, alarm clocks, clock radios. If you guys see those clock radios, look, that's $115.89. I picked these clock radios up at thrift stores, and if I see them out at yard sales, I don't see them as often in yard sales as I do in thrift stores, but I'll pick them up for $2 or $3 and sell them for $35 or $40 each. So people really like those little clock radios. People are getting back to that, having that old clock radio on the side of the bed. And Chad from Wolfman's Goodies joins us. He says, "Hey, Sam and everyone. Hey, Chad, how are you? Good to see you on here." And there's Marty. Hey, Marty, how are you today? So, Paul, man, I'm really happy for you getting started with this. He said he got half of his items from the house and half from the Salvation Army thrift store. So, Chad's a big Salvation Army guy. I'm gonna say it for you, Chad. Okay, Salvation Army. That's how Chad says it in his live stream, or actually in his daily show that he does. So if you're not, Paul says hello to Marty and hello to Wolfman Goodies. Thank you, Paul. I think on the last show I was going to put you as a moderator, Paul. So Chad got a kick out of that. I think I was able to figure out how to add my friend that has Rat Stash on as a moderator last time she was on. Paul says, I have a clock radio listed. I have been doing eBay off and on. Long time, over 2,000 transactions. Okay. All right. So you're not new to this. You're just getting back started into it. Is that what it is? Okay. So sporting goods, baseball, softball gloves. I love to sell softball gloves. Again, those are real easy listers, and they sell real well, especially during softball season and baseball season. Also, I buy football helmets if I can find them in thrift stores or at yard sales. And those football helmets, if they've got the pads in them and the chin strap and got everything that they need, those usually do pretty good. I can get over $100 for a football helmet. So those are pretty good. So the other item was toys and hobbies, action figures and accessories. And I showed you one of those in the last live stream I did. That's $82.62, 68 cents. Cameras and photos. Don't sleep on cameras. Cameras are always a good sale. $78.07 on cameras. Clothing, shoes, and accessories. That's women's shoes, boots, $78.96. Home and garden, household supplies, cleaning, vacuum cleaners, bags, and stuff like that. Cameras and photos, again, digital cameras, and clothing and accessories, boys' shoes. So I sold $60 in boys' shoes. So that's the store. $6,030 in a 30-day period is pretty good for me. The best month that I ever had was last December. I was able to bring in $8,000 for the month of December of 2023. So that was my best month ever since I've been doing eBay. But this is a breakdown of the months from July 12th until August 11th, which is today's date. It's looking a little bit better than the last chart that I showed you. I've had constant sales every day since July 22nd. So every day of the month since July 22nd up to current, I've had at least one or two sales, which has been really good. My high day was on August 1st. I sold $890 worth of items. And then the second highest day was June 18th. I sold $753. Then I had two days where there were zero sales. That was July 13th, July 16th, 3 days, and July 21st. So I had 3 days in the 30-day period where there were zero sales whatsoever. So, you have some good days and you have some bad days. Hopefully most of them are good, but again, I'm really pleased with the $6,000 30-day total. That was a really good total as far as I'm concerned. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get into what has sold in the last 30 days. And I won't do a whole 30 days because it's been only 2 weeks since I did the last what's sold, but I'll show you some of the things that I've sold in the last couple of weeks or so. So let's go ahead and get into it. Today I sold another Nintendo console bundle. Now this is what my console bundles look like when I put them together. Hey Dash, welcome. Good to see you on here, brother. Hope everything is going well for you. Dash has the channel Dallas Flippin'. I talked about you last Sunday. I don't know if you got a chance to catch the live stream afterwards, but I talked about you, and wow, my best day of the year was Father's Day, over $600 in sales. Well, that's a really good day to have that. And that Father's Day is in June or July. Can't remember. And Chad says he's listing and listening. Well, Chad, I didn't speak up in your live stream, but I was watching your live stream today also. I was actually working on a console. I don't know if you all have been watching my videos, but I am starting to put up videos where I'm repairing vintage consoles. And so I was working on an original Xbox. It's having some kind of issue with the controller not working correctly. So I repaired the controller. I changed the cord out on the controller, but for some reason it still wasn't reading it like it needed to. But again, this is the bundle that I do for like an NES. I'll put a zapper gun with it. I'll put the Duck Hunt video game with it and take pictures. Of course, you've got to take really good pictures when you list an item. As you all know that do reselling, you got to take pictures of all sides, top and bottom, and you want to take pictures of all of the controllers, front and bottom, both of the controllers in the game, front and back. And I try to get extra angles of the game if I can. Now, I did have some extra original OEM power supplies that I'm putting with the bundles that I've been listing recently. And Chad says, that's awesome. Thanks, Chad. So that's the Nintendo, the NES system that I sold today. That was one of my biggest sales of the day today. It was $130.50. And I bought that NES with three other controllers. That's a video that I haven't put out yet, but it's an unboxing that's going to come. Probably I'll put it out tomorrow. But there was a NES, Super NES, or two Super NESs, and a PlayStation Fat in this unboxing that I did. The next item that I sold today was this Barbie movie lot. There were 8 movies, and these are some movies that I got at a yard sale, and I have maybe 50 cents each into these DVDs. So I've got like $4 into it, and it sold for $35.99 for all 8. So that was a pretty good return on my investment, I believe. It worked out pretty good. So that's 2 items that have sold today, and we'll go in. That's the only 2 items that I've had so far today. So my sales for today are standing at just a little over $200, which is not bad. I'm happy with that. I was telling you I sold clock radios. This is a clock radio I sold yesterday. This is one of the vintage clock radios. And like I said, when I'm at the yard sales, if I see these vintage clock radios, I'm going to pick them up every time. Let me see if I can play this video that I took. I'm also putting videos up for you who haven't seen my past live streams where I put videos on my listing.
Quality. Go to omahasteaks.com for the Burger Perfection flight today. That's omahasteaks.com. Order the Burger Perfection flight for $79.99. Hurry, supplies are limited. Omaha Steaks.
All right, so that kind of shows whoever is the potential buyer, you know, what they're getting, that it's actually working. And when you're selling older vintage electronics, it's really a good idea to put a video with it so that you can show that that it's actually working. And it really, since I've started doing that, has helped me with my sales. The next item that I sold is this 1997 Jailhouse Rock VHS tape. Now, VHS tape is still good. I mean, if you find it, pick it up. If you can get it sealed, it's better to get the stuff that's sealed than the stuff that is already open, because you might get $1 or $2 for something that's open unless it's a rare VHS. But if you have it sealed, like this one is, you know, I put in my listing Jailhouse Rock VHS Elvis, and I put watermark seal new. So this VHS is new. Paul says his is a GE, but also looks a little different. Okay. I like the ones, the vintage AM/FM clock radios that have the green dial or the blue dial. I really like those. I think they're really neat. And people pick those up. They just snatch those up. Anytime I get one listed, it doesn't stay unlisted for very long. They usually sell pretty quickly. Chad says, I left one like that at Goodwill this week because it was dirty and was $5. Well, I don't blame you but a lot of times the ones I pick up are dirty too, but they're really very easy to clean up if you've got a toothbrush or some kind of scrubbing brush. You can usually get the dust and the dirt out of them. Dash says he loves those old radios. I listen to AM radio daily, and the sound is magical. Yeah, people, Dash's age, Dash is in his early 30s, and people his age and younger really like those retro items. And, you know, they, like I said, they sell pretty quickly. Now, this next item I featured in one of my videos that I recently put out. This is a original Microsoft Xbox console bundle that I put together. Now, one thing that I want to show you on this bundle is that there is a Duke controller. That's called a Duke controller, the really big one. And this is the one that everybody wants. They want this Duke controller. Now, I bought this Duke controller and it was not working correctly. So what I did was, let me see if I can get an image of the cord for the controller. Here's the cord for this Duke controller. This is not the original cord. I did a video about this, and it'll be coming out pretty soon. I took the old frayed cord off and soldered in a new cord and repaired the cord. So I got the cord, I think, for like $15. I got the controller for like $8 plus shipping. And then I bought the cord, the replacement cord, for another $8. So I've got $16 into that controller. And I've got maybe $30 into the Xbox. And then the games I picked up as a bundle when I was in Florida thrifting. So I've got maybe 50 cents a piece into those games, and then another $12 into the AV cable and the power cord, because I had to order those from Amazon. So all in together, close to $50 that I've got into this item, and it sold for $126. and people just eat up these old Xboxes. They love these things, and they buy them almost as quickly as I can put them on eBay. They sell. Now, one thing that I will caution you against, if you're buying consoles for resale and they end up to be modded, like recently I got a deal from Dash where there were three consoles and one Nintendo DS handheld, and the DS ended up being modded. Well, I listed it as being modded. Don't do that. For those of you who are listing on eBay, do not list any item as modded, because you will get a violation notice and your item will be removed. And that's what happened to me. It happened twice. It happened with another Xbox that I had that was modded, and I put mod in. I did put it in the title. I put MOD. No, I did put MOD in the title, and I put that it had been modded in the description. But eBay does not allow you to sell items that have been modded, apparently. So they took it down. So I just, what I did was I just relisted it as a regular console that without putting anything in there about the modification. But if anybody's looking at the console and they go into the listing, they can see, because I put a video up showing the item starting up, so they can see that it does have a soft mod. It's not illegal for me to list it, but it is a soft mod. It's not a hard mod, so it's not a huge, should not be a huge deal. But it was taken down, and I just wanted to caution you all who are listing modded consoles to make sure that you're not putting that in the description. These rollers, I picked these up at a yard sale for like $1, and they sold for $20.70. So there's 36 hair rollers of various sizes. And where I got the idea to pick up hair rollers and list them on eBay is, funny enough, is from watching shed flips, and Candace picks up those hot rollers, and she sells those hot rollers on a regular basis. I don't know if you're familiar with shed flips or if you watch shed flips, but yeah, Candace sells those pretty regularly on their eBay store. So I figured, why not give it a chance and see if it'll work. And I did, and it sold. So that was pretty good. I sold this vintage parts of an original 1964 GI Joe. And in my last live stream that I did about reselling, I talked about having a death pile and having items that you have bought and they're just sitting around and not being listed. Well, this is one of those items that I had that was just sitting around and not being listed because, number one, I didn't really take the time to research it. I picked this up as well as another. It was in a small kind of container thing. There were several things inside the container that I didn't know what they were because I didn't do the research on them. But once I got these items out and started looking at them and actually researching them, I realized that this is actually a valuable item, even though it's not complete. It's just parts. People buy these parts so that they can complete other GI Joes that are vintage from the 1964 era that are missing these parts. So I listed it high. I listed it for like $42.50, and then of course, I give the 10% discount on everything in my store, so it sold for $38.25 for just parts. And I think for the whole little box, it was like a clear tote, like a small tote. And there was another GI Joe for parts that was in there as well as a couple of outfits from 1964 that I didn't have any clue about what they were. But when I got in there and did the research and listed these things, they sold for really good money. And I was very pleasantly surprised. Paul said he had a brand new G.I. Joe in the early 1960s. I unalived him. Paul, one thing about those older G.I. Joes, and I didn't realize this until I started looking at this one and researching, I didn't realize that they had like rubber band type strings inside of them that held them together. Once those rubber bands give way, then the G.I. Joe just kind of falls apart. And that's what happened to a lot of them. That's probably what happened to yours. It just kind of fell apart when you were a little bit rough with it. The next item that I sold is this DVD. This is the Johnson Family Vacation. And this is probably one of the lowest price items that I had that sold. But I'll list a DVD every now and then, a movie or something that I think will be popular. And this is one of those that I listed, and it sold for $6.75. I don't think I have more than like 50 cents into this because I don't pay very much for movies and that sort of thing. I sold this Samsung Galaxy notebook. And this Galaxy notebook was in a yard sale. I paid $5 for it. I didn't know if it worked or not. The cord was with it, and when I got it home, I plugged it in, and sure enough, it worked. And I was able to get it listed and sold it for $34.20. So that was a pretty good sale. And I'm going to show you this. This is what I was talking about with the football helmets. Don't pass on football helmets. Don't sleep on them because they're really good. Even in beat up condition, football helmets do really well. So this one, you can see whoever had this played hard because it is marked up pretty badly. It looks like they, have had many scuffs with other teams, but this one was extra small. I always look to make sure that if I buy a helmet, that it's one that can be used for play and that it's safe to use. This one was missing some of the padding in the very top. So I made sure and disclosed in the listing that the padding was missing. But again, I want to make sure and take pictures of all of the stickers and labels that are inside of the helmet. But so that was a pretty good sale. I had about $10 into that helmet, and it sold for $44.99. Here's another video game bundle. Again, I told you that, I like to get these vintage video games. This may even be one of the ones that I got from Dash with Dallas Flippin'. So I'll buy the video game console and I'll clean it up. I'll get the original, or hopefully I can get an original OEM controller, and I'll put a couple of games with it. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, I have to buy the AV cable and the power cable from Amazon. They're really cheap. They're only like $12 for the pair, $8 to $12, depending on who you get them from. But so my all-in cost on this is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 to $50, and it sold for $121.50. So if you're not selling video game consoles, I don't blame you. I mean, it's not easy to fix them. It's not easy to go through them and clean them and make them look like they're brand new again. You have to be very meticulous with them and make sure that you're cleaning them well. And then again, they're an electronic, and anytime you have an electronic item, you run the risk of having it returned. Video game consoles, I've been very fortunate. For the most part, I've had maybe one or two returned. I've had one returned that was working perfectly fine. They just obviously had buyer's remorse, and they decided to return it. But some people are not honest, and they will put on their return that the item is not working or the item is not as described, so that they won't have to pay the shipping cost. And so that happens. That's one of the things that you have to deal with when you're a reseller. The next item that I sold here is this paintball helmet. At first, when I first got this, and this is on one of my haul videos, I didn't really know what it was. I didn't know if it was a paintball helmet or if it was like the kind of helmet that you wear for riding, with the goggles and that sort of thing for riding ATVs and that sort of thing. And when I looked it up, I realized that it was a paintball helmet, and this one is in brand new condition. You can see the plastic visor is in perfect condition, and this says U.S. Army on it. I got this at a thrift store, at one of the main thrift stores that I go to, and I paid like $3 for it. That's what I paid for it, $3. And it sold for $21.60. So that was a pretty good pickup. I probably wouldn't buy a paintball helmet if it wasn't in really good condition. So, I would be careful picking up paintball items because they have a tendency to linger for a long period of time. I bought a whole bunch of paintball stuff at a yard sale one time. There was a whole box of stuff. I got the vest, I got the helmet. There were actually two helmets. I got the gun and the plastic thing that holds all the paintballs that goes into the gun. And it took me a while, and I eventually sold everything, but it took me a little while to sell it all. But when I did sell it, it was a pretty good turnaround. I was able to make my money back by about 10 times. And here again is another alarm clock. This one is a newer alarm clock. People really like those old vintage ones with the wood veneer look to them. But this is one of the just plastic, average, everyday alarm clocks. So, don't think just because it doesn't look vintage that it won't sell. People they like to have these by their bed. And I'll tell you, someone else who likes to get these are people who have Airbnbs or, short-term rentals. They buy these to put in the rentals next to the bed so that the guests will have a way to set an alarm when they get up. So I don't know if I mentioned how much I paid for that. I paid $3 for that at a thrift store that I go to. The next item is a category of shoes. I told you I like those shoes. And if you'll notice on these shoes, how I have them displayed. Someone asked me one time, where do I get my rack that I use for these shoes? Actually, I don't know where this came from, but it's not a shoe rack. It's some kind of dish rack or some kind of cooking rack. But what I do is the way I display these shoes, I'll set one up on the rack and one below, and that way you can see both sides of the shoes. See? And then I take a picture of the tongue of the shoe so that they can see that it's got the labeling. Then I go on the left side, in the middle, on the right side, the back, then from the top, and then I always take a shot of the bottom of the shoe as well. And if it has it, I try to get the label that has the size, so that they can see what the size is and make sure. I have had situations before in the past where I've been in a hurry and didn't put the right size, or did a sold similar off of somebody else's listing and didn't change the size, and someone contacted me and said your picture shows a different size than what your listing shows, and so I was able to make that correction before they purchased it. So always good to make sure you get the right information in your listing, but it's also good to have a picture so that they can see for themselves that it is the size that they're looking for. But these shoes sold for $31.49, and I bought these at a yard sale for $5. So that was a pretty good pickup. Now this next item I have had in my inventory for quite a long time. And this is a John Deere canister set. So these 3 canisters I picked up for $1 at a thrift store. They're nothing special. They're just regular canisters. And they have 3 sides on them with John Deere tractors. People love John Deere stuff for some reason. I've always done pretty well with John Deere hats, John Deere, pretty much anything that you can get that's John Deere, I've done very well with. So these sold for $22.50. Another item that I have learned that is pretty good pickup, I've learned this off of watching other reselling channels, is the General Motors Haynes repair manual. If y'all see these repair manuals out in your yard sales and that sort of thing, you can usually get them pretty cheap. I bought this for $1 and I sold it for $17.99. It's a Cadillac DeVille Haynes repair manual. So these are pretty good sellers. They're not real fast sellers. They might sit in your store for a little while and just wait for the right buyer, but they're pretty good sellers. So I recommend that you pick those up if you do run across them, if you can get them. They may sit in your store for a little while, but that's okay. Also, if you sell like deodorant or any type of perfume or any kind of home care product like toothpaste or any item, eBay used to let you sell the perfumes that had already been partially used, but I think they changed their policy about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago, where you can't sell any items that are used of healthcare items like perfume and that sort of thing. But I don't know. Yes, I bought these at a yard sale. I bought like a whole box of perfume and deodorant and different lipstick. There was lipstick in that box. Just a whole bunch of stuff in that one box, and I paid $20 for the whole box of items. And I've already sold most of the rest of the stuff, and so I'm well into the profit with this. So this was $17.99 for antiperspirant deodorant. Well, it looks like Chad is going to have to go for the night. Chad, appreciate you joining us. Hope you have a great night, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, and thanks for coming. So the next item that I sold is this NRA certified coffee mug. Now, this is another one of those items that's been sitting in my store inventory. It's been sitting on my unlisted shelf for a long time. This I picked this up at a yard sale for $1, and it's in an NRA certified instructor mug and 16 ounces. And it just was sitting there for, I would say, about a year, sitting on my shelf and not getting listed while I'm busy listing other things that I like to list and not listing stuff that I don't want to list. Do you ever find that? Do you ever run into that where you have stuff that you want to list because you just got out and you just picked up stuff and you're real excited and you get it back and you want to get it listed first when you've got stuff that's been sitting there for a year on your shelf that needs to be listed? Well, this is one of those items. So I always measure, I put measurements next to stuff like coffee cups, like if it's a larger coffee cup, especially, so they'll know it's a bigger coffee cup and it'll hold more. But this was a good item to list. I should have listed it and not let it just sit there. It sold for $22.96. And here is the third, yes, that's right, the third alarm clock that I have sold in the last 30 days. So, like I said, don't sleep on those alarm clocks, no pun intended. The alarm clock radios, people love them. They buy them, pick them up. This one didn't sell for quite as much as some of the others. It sold for $19.80. I have $3 into this. I bought this at a thrift store. Here is an item that I picked up at a what do you call that when people have a sale at their house? Can't think of the word for it, but y'all know what I'm talking about. This is a vintage cassette book from someone named Tom Hopkins called Advanced Sales Survival Training. When I looked this up, it really had good comps to it. And when I first picked it up, I didn't run the comps on it, so I didn't really know what it was worth. But I paid like $2 for this, and because I didn't think it was that valuable. But when I got it home and looked it up, I realized that it did have some value. So I listed it for $36.99, and with the 10% off, estate sale, that's what it is. And with the 10% off, it sold for $33.29. So yeah, that came from an estate sale. I was just having a mind cramp right there. The next item that I sold is another item that's been in my inventory for quite some time, and that is this Philips antenna. This is just a regular rabbit ears antenna that you put on a high definition television so you can pick up local stations. This is a brand new item in the box. It sold for $17.99. I got this at the thrift store for $2. So that was pretty good return on investment. Now, this backpack I picked up at a yard sale. They sold it for $5. When I got it back to the house and did the research on it, I found out that this is a real high-end backpack. This is probably the most expensive backpack that I have ever had or sold in my store. And I can't even begin to pronounce this word right here. It starts with FJALLRAVEN. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it sold for $115. And I don't, like I said, it's been a long time since I picked it up, so I don't know exactly what I paid for it, but I think it was somewhere around $5 that I paid for that. I got these filters. These are air filters at my local thrift store, and they were like $2 a box. So I looked them up while I was in the store, and I saw that they had pretty good comps. Mostly people who were selling them in groups of 3, so that's how I listed them, as in a group of 3 for $30.60. So that's like $10 a box. Actually, I listed it for $34, and then I gave the 10% off, so that's $10 a box, which was pretty good. And with the political season in full swing, the next item that I sold was this hat. And I think this is one of the original Make America Great Again hats. Mrs. Side Hustle picked it up at a yard sale and brought it home for me, thinking that I would wear it, but I wouldn't wear it in public. Just, I believe in making America great, but the person who originally came up with this slogan was Ronald Reagan, by the way, just so you know. And Ronald Reagan was a great American. I thought he was a great president. The next item that I sold was this vintage phone. If you see phones, like old vintage phones out at yard sales or in thrift stores, pick them up. They're always a good pickup if you can get them for the right price. I wouldn't pay more than $5 for one of these, but this one was really neat. I thought it was pretty neat because it was see-through. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, when you plug this in, it has like little neon lights inside of it, and it lights up. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it does. But this is an old phone from the 1990s. You can see all the electronics inside of the phone, which I thought was really neat. And like I said, I paid less than $5 for this phone at a thrift store, and it sold for $33.29, which was a pretty good sale. Now, this is one of my favorite sales of the whole month. And this is another one of those bundles that I was telling you about. This is a Xbox One bundle. And this bundle actually came to me pretty much complete, except for the games. The guy that sold me this console sold me the cords and the controller with it. And so what this is an Xbox One S, and it is a 1 terabyte console. These are pretty good sellers. They sell pretty good. I bought this off of one of my tenants who was moving out, and I had these games in my inventory, so I just put these games with the console. I always make sure and put games with the console to help it sell. But this bundle sold for $139.50, and I bought it from my tenant for $50. I bought the console with the controller and the cords for $50. So that was a real good return on my investment on that. This is one of the best sales of the month. I mentioned this when I was showing you my stats for the month, but this is a Luminox watch that sold for $495. I bought this watch off of a lady who she had like 10 watches and a box of 7.62 ammunition that was still new in the packages. But this watch, I bought all the ammunition. I bought this watch along with about 5 other watches, and I've already sold 3 of those watches for over $1,500 altogether. So this is pure profit on this. So it's sold for $495, which was a really good amount. And I think, again, one of the things that helped me sell this was to put a video with this listing. And basically the reason I did this video on most items that don't make noise or electronic, I don't put videos up, but I did this one because I wanted to show the buyer what the condition was of this watch and how clean and pristine it was. The you can see from the crystal on this case is just immaculate, and the watch was in almost unworn condition. So that's one reason I think that I was able to get the price that I was asking for this watch was $495. Actually, that was with the 10% off, so it was way more than $495 that I originally listed this watch for. But it sold, and so that was a good purchase, a good item to list and to sell. I originally listed it for $550, and that's what the comps were for this watch. So I consider myself very fortunate to have come across it. That was, Dash talks about his flips of the week. Well, that probably was my flip of the month. Was that item right there? So, like I said, I had like $370 in all of those watches and the ammunition that I bought. I actually sold the ammunition to someone that the same day that I bought it. I sold the ammunition by itself for $450, so I was already $150 in the profit. When I got home with all 10 of those watches, I've already sold $1,500 plus another $500. So I've already sold $2,000 worth of watches and made $2,000. So that was really good purchase. I hope that that lady will invite me back to come thrifting at her house and do private pick again. That's what that was. And here's another NES bundle that I had. I bought this NES off of my friend Rodney Bookout in Houston, Texas. He had it listed in his store. He had this same exact bundle listed in his store for $60. And for that price, I just couldn't turn it away. In his bundle, he had an extra zapper gun, and he only had one of the controllers. In my bundle, I kind of took the same bundle that Nintendo did when they originally first created. You sold it in a box. This is what you got in the box. You got the original NES. You got this game with Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, and you got the zapper and the controllers and the power supply. The only thing that you would get in the original bundle that you don't see here is the original attachment that goes to the back of the TV. I do have some of those. I just choose not to put those with the bundles. It's not really that important for people who are buying these. So, in my opinion, I don't think they really care about that. So it works out pretty good. The next item that I sold was this Olympus quick shooter camera. It's a 35 millimeter. I paid $4 for this at a thrift store. And the film rolls came with the camera when I bought it at the thrift store. So I figured I would just throw those in to kind of help it sell. This did sit in my store for quite some time, so it was not a quick seller, but it did finally sell. So, I was real happy to sell it for $37.80, which was a pretty good price for that item. The next item that I sold, these shoes have been in my store for a while now, probably about a year and a half. And one of the things that I've been doing is I've been going to my old items that are ending. And some of them are really old items, and I will end them. And if they don't have watchers, I will end them, and I will sell similar and relist them selling similar. And so that's one of the things that I did with these. These are the 2015 Nike Air Jordan Retro basketball sneakers. These are a size 6 youth. And one thing that I have learned about sneakers, size small, they're not quick sellers for kids. They just don't sell quickly. So these sat in my store for quite some time, and now they have made it through the authentication process, and now they have already been delivered to the buyer. So that's a good thing. I did have one pair of shoes last month that got sent back. They did not make it through the authentication process, and so unfortunately they got returned. And I didn't get a ding on my store, but they just kind of give me a slap on the hand and let me know that I didn't need to be listing items that were not authentic. I need to figure out a way to authenticate items before I list them. I know that there are a couple of websites out there that do authentication and that you have to pay for their service. So I might invest in that if I'm going to be picking up more of these shoes that I want to make sure are authentic before I list them. But this is the last item that I'm going to talk about tonight. It is a tactical military backpack that I bought. I bought this at a yard sale down in Florida, and the guy was military, and he probably had this issued, and it probably went with him on a deployment. But these backpacks, I got this one for $5. Like I said, I don't pay more than $5 for a backpack, and I always measure them out. And if there are any types of defects, I make sure and include that in the picture. See, I put a measurement to show how long it is, and then I put a measurement to show how wide it is so that the person buying it will have that information available to them. But this one sold for a whopping $49.49. It was listed for $54.99. So that was a really good sale. And I have several other items that I could show you, but I am out of time. So I hope that you enjoyed tonight's video, tonight's live stream. I enjoyed sharing with you the items that I have sold in the last, I guess this would be around the last 2 weeks. I've sold some really good items, and I've sold a couple items that really didn't sell for a whole lot, but that's okay because you got to have a little bit of those lower price items in your inventory so that you have a good, well-rounded group of items in your inventory. So again, thank you all for joining me tonight. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Paul, for being with me. Thank you, Marty, for being here tonight. And thank you, Dash, for coming in. It was good to have you all on the live stream tonight. Enjoyed. Let me stop this sharing here. I enjoyed going over these items that I've sold and sharing with you how well my store is doing. And not bragging, but I want to inspire people who are considering doing something like this. If you want a way to make a little extra money, this is an excellent way to make a little bit of extra money on the side, doing a little bit of a side hustle. Or if you're retired and you want to do it full time, then I encourage you to do that. One thing that I don't encourage you to do is if you have a job that pays good money, do not leave that job so you can go and sell items on eBay, unless you're making enough on eBay that you're making more with eBay than you are for that job, and it's consistent over a period of several years you have been doing that. That is the only way that I would recommend that you leave your job and go to be a reseller full time. Now, there's something to be said for state employment and for being able to have a job with a federal government or state or what have you, where you have a pension when you retire. Chad says good night. Y'all have a good night. Thank you, Chad, for staying with us through the end. And I hope your mom is doing okay, and I hope that you have a very wonderful night as well. Hope that you had a good Sunday. But so what I was saying is, don't leave your day job. But if this is something that you're interested in doing, then I suggest that you check it out because it's really been enjoyable for me. I have a good time doing it. I still don't consider myself full-time. I still consider myself part-time. So far this year, my store has already done over $30,000. So if I continue on the path that I'm on right now, I expect that my store will be doing close to $60,000, and that's gross sales for the year. So, so I think that's really good for something that you're doing part-time and not doing full-time. It's something that I enjoy doing too. It's not work to me. Work is something that you don't necessarily enjoy doing. If you have a job that you enjoy, then you'll never work a day in your life, is what I heard. But anyway, I have gone on long enough. Thank you guys for joining me tonight, and hope that I can see you again on the next live stream that we'll do next Sunday, a week from today. On next Sunday's live stream, what I'll be talking about is I'll be giving you an update on my YouTube monetization journey. It is continuing on, and the money is still coming in, and it is growing. So I hope that I can report to you on next Sunday that I will have received my first check from Google. In order to get your first check, you have to have made at least $100 to get the first payment from Google. They hold on to your money until you get that first $100. You have to make you have to have $10 on the books before you can verify your identification. Once you verify your identity, and it's weird, they actually send it. The Google sends a letter to your house, and you have to go onto the website to your YouTube channel and put this code on this mail that they sent to your physical address in order for them to verify your identity. But that's the process. And so hopefully next Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, you can join me again, and I'll be able to share with you some updates on my YouTube journey. But until then, thank you guys for being with me. Love y'all. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.